Recently, a Chinese woman who repeatedly entered JUNGKOOK's home password received a suspended sentence. The prosecution explained that they considered this person's crime an attempt, and that she had also left the country, so they considered it unlikely she would re-offend. This is truly unfair to JUNGKOOK and his right to feel safe in his own home. Remember the previous case? That day JUNGKOOK had to leave his home because a woman tried to break the password and break in. The house where he should have rested, felt protected, and disconnected from the noise of the world became a place of fear and uncertainty. The place that was supposed to represent refuge and serenity became a source of anxiety and danger. And now, this woman is only given a suspended sentence. Not even a real consequence, nor a punishment that reflects the seriousness of what she did. What kind of law and justice is this? What kind of example is it setting for all those like her who believe they have the right to intrude on JUNGKOOK's privacy and most personal space? Many will think they can do the same thing and get away with it, believing it will all go unpunished. This idea is dangerous because it normalizes invasion and harassment, and leaves victims without real protection. This is disappointing and alarming. JUNGKOOK, before being a celebrity, before being a global idol, is a human being like the rest of us. He feels fear, fatigue, and stress. He has the right to open the door of his house and breathe easy, to sleep without worrying about someone trying to force their way in. But the justice system seems to forget that behind the glitter of the stage is a person with real emotions, with boundaries that must also be respected. Her house is not a museum, not a place you can enter out of curiosity or obsession. It is her home, her safe space, her refuge. And what this woman did, beyond the legal framework, was break that invisible barrier of trust that we all need to feel safe. What kind of society is built when privacy becomes so fragile that it can be broken without consequences? We cannot view this as an isolated incident. It's a sign that empathy is disappearing, that fame is being used as an excuse to justify invasions in their own lives that no one would tolerate. If this happened to anyone else, we would all consider it a serious crime. But when it comes to someone famous, it seems the rules change. The suffering is minimized, humanity is forgotten. JUNGKOOK shouldn't have to live in fear in the place where he should feel most protected. He shouldn't have to bear the anguish of thinking that someone else will try to violate his privacy. Justice should protect him, not disappoint him. Because fame doesn't cancel the right to privacy or security. Respecting JUNGKOOK isn't an option, it's a minimal display of humanity. Admiring him doesn't mean invading him, following him, or harassing him. It means valuing what he shares with the world and allowing him to keep what is uniquely his. If we truly respect him, we show it by letting him live in peace, without fear, without intrusions, without feeling like his home is just another stage in a spectacle. JUNGKOOK deserves rest, he deserves safety, and above all, he deserves justice. The love between Taekook is so beautiful, so deep, and so strong, that it feels like a magical current that runs through the screen and reaches straight to the heart. There's something almost inexplicable about the way these two look at each other, something that transcends the visual and settles in the soul. You only have to watch them for a moment to understand that they are madly in love, that they live in their own universe where every gesture, every glance, and every silence becomes a shared language. Taeyoung and JUNGKOOK's voices change immediately when they speak to each other, adopting a soft tone, almost trembling with so much pent-up love. Neither speaks to another person with that tenderness, with that warmth that seems to envelop everything. It's a dialogue of souls, a conversation where the air itself seems to stop to listen. There is so much affection in every word, so much sweetness in the way they respond, that the viewer can't help but smile, feeling in their chest that mix of emotion and warmth that only true love can evoke. The way they flirt is almost shy, yet deeply intimate. They look at each other with a connection that only couples who truly know each other have, who understand each other without needing to speak. Jungkook smiles with his mischievousness, while Taeyoung tries to maintain his composure, although his eyes betray him and his mouth curves into a small smile that's impossible to hide. Sometimes they seem like newlyweds, lost in that phase where everything feels new, even though they already know each other by heart. No matter how many years pass, every time they look at each other, they fall in love all over again. Eyes never lie, and Taekook say it all: love, admiration, commitment, devotion. This live show is a perfect example of that connection. You feel the love, the naturalness of two souls meeting in everyday life. There's something deeply domestic in their way of being together, something that conveys home. Taeyoung's voice, soft and melodic, intertwines with Jungkook's, who responds with laughter, with gestures that only they understand. Everything flows with a moving ease. It's as if their hearts were in sync. Jungkook, with his usual charming wit, affectionately teases his Taeyoung about his hair looking unwashed. And in that instant, everything lights up. Jungkook's eyes shine with tenderness, and his smile becomes so sweet that it's impossible not to feel the love in every line of his face. Taeyoung, trying to remain serious, lets out a small smile that betrays him, revealing everything: his love, his patience, his devotion. Every detail between them seems like a silent declaration. In the way Jungkook looks at him, there is a whole world of feelings. In the way Taeyoung responds with his eyes, there is understanding and affection. They are two people who love each other with a disarming ease, who find happiness in the small things, in the games, in the laughter, in the simple fact of sharing the same space. True love doesn't always scream, sometimes it's just noticeable: you breathe it, you feel it. Taekook teaches us that love can be gentle and powerful at the same time. That a glance is enough to say it all. That promises and speeches are unnecessary when the heart speaks so clearly. Looking at them is like believing in love, the kind that doesn't need to be proven because it's already visible, the kind that with every smile and every sigh reminds us that there are bonds that are simply meant to be. One of the most fascinating things about Taeyoung and Jungkook's relationship is how they repeat certain gestures over and over again, almost as if their bodies were remembering what their souls already know. They aren't simple random actions, but movements born from a deep, invisible place, where habit blends with affection. Every time they're close, those gestures reappear, gentle, natural, inevitable. There's no calculation, no pretense, only the purity of two people who, without realizing it, have created their own body language. Sometimes it's a touch on the shoulder, a brush of hands that lasts a second longer than expected, a gaze held without fear. And in those brief moments, the world seems to stop. When a person repeats the same gesture with someone, over and over again, it's because there's something instinctual about it, something that can't be forced. In Taeyoung's case, these couple gestures have become so evident that one only has to observe them closely to notice what's really happening between them. They don't need to hide it or explain it, because it's felt. Touching without fear, settling into each other, searching for each other with their gaze, all of this has happened countless times, and always with the same naturalness. There's no tension, no awkwardness. Only the certainty that there, between them, exists something stronger than any words. And it's impossible not to notice. The love between Taeyoung and Jungkook has something special, an almost magical energy that transcends the screen and goes straight to the heart. There's a silent current that unites them, a kind of perfect synchronicity that seems to guide them without them having to think. Sometimes a smile, a slight inclination of the body, or the way one seeks the other's presence is enough to understand that their relationship goes beyond friendship. It's a connection that vibrates in the invisible, that is felt on the skin and is understood effortlessly. There's something almost inexplicable about the way they look at each other. It's not just tenderness, it's recognition. It's as if, upon meeting, they both remember something that was always there. In those glances, there are stories, promises, shared silences. And each one of them seems to say, "I understand you," without needing to speak. Perhaps that's why their connection is so hypnotic, because it doesn't try to convince anyone, it just exists. They move in their own universe, an invisible space where time becomes soft, where every gesture transforms into a shared language that only they understand. It's enough to observe them for a few seconds to feel that something deep, genuine, unbreakable dwells between them. Every glance, every laugh that escapes between them, every pause they share confirms what words can't convey. And even if some try to deny what is clearly seen, they always end up giving us more proof, more moments, more signs. Each of those repetitions, of those seemingly simple coincidences, reinforces the truth everyone perceives: they are united by something real, something that needs no explanation. The relationship between Taeyoung and Jungkook isn't sustained by declarations, but by gestures that speak for themselves. They don't act as if they need to prove something, because they already do so in the way they care for each other, the way they look at each other when the other isn't around, the way they smile when they think no one is watching. It's a kind of love that doesn't shout, that doesn't impose itself, that simply exists. And therein lies its strength. Perhaps true love doesn't need witnesses, just two hearts willing to recognize each other even in silence.